Wi-Fi is turned off. We're good. Hey, YouTube. So, as I'm eating this bread, walking myself to work, we're going to talk about phones with moving pieces. This is brought about because we now have some smartphones that have cameras that are hidden to get rid of a top bezel. I want to say the Vivo NEX5, Vivo NEX5. There was also the Vivo concept phone, and then they said, well, why don't we just turn some of the amazingness of this concept phone down and actually sell it? And so they did. And then we've also got a new phone from Oppo, which if you're not familiar with them, they are actually owned by the same company that owns OnePlus. But anyways, basically, both of those companies, so the Vivo phone has no notch at all. And it's practically bezel-less. And if you need to take a selfie, a little camera pops out of the top. There's even some cheesy noises included to go along with it, but you can turn those off in the settings. Then, the Oppo phone, this one strikes me a little bit weird, because it's not just the front-facing selfie camera that pops up, it's all the cameras. The entire top area where there's like no bezel just raises up above the screen, let you take a selfie or a rear picture. I like Vivo's idea better. Much better. But, well, I will give it to Oppo that because the whole top of the phone's coming off, there might be a little bit more strength and durability in that piece if you ever did drop it while it was open. But the meat of this discussion is really going to be about, like my friend said, I don't want moving parts in phones. How long is it going to last? Well, it will eventually break, which is true for moving parts, but in contrast, like my Sony HX90V is a nice $400 point-and-shoot camera, and there are lots of other digital cameras, and true actual cameras in general have moving pieces for their optical zoom and the lenses that click on and off and all this stuff, and we don't complain about them. Not at all. And so, I'm wondering why it's a thing with phones. But I kind of understand it because, let me switch arms here. We don't, what am I trying to say? The phones haven't really had moving pieces. So, you can kind of sort of say they do because they have buttons, although those aren't necessarily considered moving pieces, but I would say it is something that moves and would wear out over time definitely a lot quicker than, at least I'm not 100% certain, but logic says that the button would wear out faster than just the electricity flying through a piece would wear it out. But then you've also got, like my phone has an alert slider, so that's kind of sort of a moving piece, even more so than your regular button. But they've been good at avoiding moving pieces. Same thing with, I was going to say, so hard drives, but they haven't been good at avoiding moving pieces. But traditional hard drives, though, back when they were the only thing, we didn't complain about them. Sure, computer hard drives have had issues, and man, it was crazy. Don't know if you saw it, but anyways, yeah, computer hard drives have, in the past been only moving pieces. Now we have solid-state drives. They're a lot more expensive, and so a lot of people are tending to get one just big enough for their operating system and then store everything on a drive that's just a regular spinning drive, hard drive. So, but I don't know that it's something that big to worry about with the phones. If you really don't want it, you pick another phone. It's that simple and easy. But for truly bezel-less with a selfie camera still and no notch, having it pop up is a cool idea. Yeah, sure, it might wear out soon. There are some issues. You know, how durable actually is it? Is it as durable as some of the stuff on our point and shoot cameras? You know, and even with like, and this not complaining thing is for point and shoot cameras, or any cameras really that are dedicated cameras, it's kind of sort of across the board. You know, people who don't know much about cameras and photography, they just want to get a relatively cheap, dedicated camera because they feel like it will take better pictures. Or maybe they've got a little bit of knowledge behind them and they know that it has a really good zoom on it that their phone doesn't. Then, you know, they might go for that. They're not complaining about the moving pieces, and on those it's essential for that optical zoom. Optical zoom is where you see the camera's lens moving inward and outward to change how zoomed in it is on something. And then digital zoom is where you're taking the already existing pixels from the sensor and just making them bigger, essentially. Which doesn't look very good. I mean, higher resolutions can do it, but definitely not lower ones. 4K zoomed into 1080 looks fine, but yeah, that's okay. So I don't know. I don't really think this is a big thing to worry about, because you don't see, you know, people complaining about your. I'm a little bit tired. You don't see people complaining about the point and shoot cameras and them having the necessary moving pieces. And so why should we complain about it on our smartphone? It's, you know, much the same thing. And I think the reason people are, there are not a lot of people, but anybody who is kind of pointing that out and really wondering about it or saying they don't want it, they're probably just used to smartphones not having moving pieces at all for a very long time. There were two other phones I can think of that have moving pieces. I think both of these weren't really released in the US, and they're like from 2010 or so. There was, so they're both by Samsung. One of them had a projector built into the top, and it was an okay projector. There's actually a more recent phone that has a projector built into the top. It's not like super, everybody's heard about it kind of big thing, but it was something done at CES, I want to say. But either way, those phones I believe have moving pieces because you have a manual adjustment for the focus of the projector. Has to be a moving piece. I forget the name of the Samsung one though. But then the other one, the other Samsung phone, I don't remember the name of this one either. Also only released really in like China. You could import one to the US. It was a Samsung phone with 10 times optical zoom. So like I mentioned earlier, optical zoom is where you see the camera lens zooming in and out. You turn on the camera and literally the lens pops out of the back, just like turning on a point and shoot, and gives you 10 times optical zoom. There was a little issue with photos becoming darker once you zoomed in, you know, and it wasn't super great. And I'm definitely glad that I didn't pick that as one of my phones. And smartphone cameras are getting really good now too, but so ending things here, I really don't think there's much to worry about with pieces moving on phones. Sure, there is a little bit more risk of the piece getting broken, especially if you dropped it. And oh yeah, also too, I guess phones are a little more prone to being dropped. You can put cases and skins on them, but there's only so much you can do. That piece is going to stick out off the top of the phone and maybe get broken off. So I don't know, there's probably not much market for this, but I would say, you know, like, to the people making these phones, maybe add like a lanyard hole so that you can put a lanyard through and have it wrapped around your wrist. That's what I do for my camera. I'm always holding it by the lanyard. No excuses. That way, you know, because I actually did drop it once while I was putting it on the tripod. But the lanyard really helps me. So maybe, you know, if you're worried about that, look into some solution for your phone that has a lanyard on it or something. But just with the way phones are and the way we hold phones, I can see that there is a little more worry because they're a little bit easier to drop. You know, you're holding a phone like this, whereas a camera, you're going to be holding it kind of like this, and you get some grip along, you know, there's some kind of handle on the one side, making it easy to access the shutter button, and then some of the other buttons with your thumb. So I don't know, we do grip, point and shoot in other cameras in a slightly different way, and they do oftentimes have lanyards with them, so maybe look for lanyards if you're wanting to get one of these phones. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in whatever's next. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about the whole smartphone having moving pieces thing. You know, is it really an issue? Let me know. And, you know, if you enjoyed this, there's more videos of me talking about stuff and lots of other stuff that isn't me just kind of talking candidly and a little bit of rambling. See you guys in whatever's next.